Yes, ma'am. It's okay.
Okay, thank you. So once again, very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the course on land and soil management in Diploma in Agriculture and Plantation Management. So just let me share the screen with you. Right. I think you all can see the screen now. So we are in the Diploma in Agriculture and Plantation Management. So DAPM 11053, which is the Managing Environment for Agriculture. Under this, we have E1, land, that E means environment, and the section 1, land and soil management, right? So we're going to discuss about first lecture. We will that means today we will talk about land and its management and what is actually land mean to agriculture. And then next day we will talk about soil management. That is how the outline of the lecture. So first day we are going to discuss about land and land management. So before that, actually, I want to tell you that we are going to have, when we finish these two lectures, first day and the second day, then you will have a quiz on LMS. I have just uploaded some of the material to LMS, so hopefully you will be able to view them after this lecture. And I will upload the slides of the lecture to Learning Management System so that you can see what we have been discussing. And I have few instructions to give you before you go ahead with participating in the lectures, especially in my course. If you have a notebook and a pen with you, that would be really helpful for you, because even though I provide all the slides to you, it is important that you take down some important notes. The reason is the lectures, the slides are especially for the teacher or the lecturer to just to remind that what we're going to discuss, right? It's in the short form, but during the teaching process, a lecturer will explain you further about those things that are present in the slides. So therefore, if you can have a piece of paper and pen, or if you have a book to write notes, so that would be really useful at the examination, because we are going to the questions will be not directly from the slides, but the things that we discuss, right? So we discuss things in detail than what is appearing on the slides. So therefore, if you can take some notes and listening well, so then you can save your time studying for the exam, right? So those are the things that I want to tell you. And regarding the quiz, I will let you know on the second day. So when we're going to have quiz, most likely it's on Wednesday, right? Wednesday night. So we have lectures on Sunday, Saturday and Sunday, and then we will have quiz on Monday. So hopefully there will be one small quiz for the first lecture, because we only cover part of the course, and there will be a full quiz. The first one most likely to be practice one. So you can have a little bit of practice on how to take questions in the LMS. So the marks will be taken from the second quiz, which is from both lectures, content from both lectures, right? So a practice quiz will be uploaded on Wednesday. That is not for taking marks, but just for you to be familiar with how to do a quiz on LMS. You understand? If you have any questions, please either use chat box or otherwise unmute your microphone, and you are free to ask questions, because from my end I can mute you all, giving you the authority to unmute yourself and ask questions. And there is another option for me here, not allowing you to unmute, but I don't use that option, because if you want to ask any questions, so you are free to do so, right? So those are the basic things that I wanted to tell you. And also, it is better that we don't provide you with the recording, right? So because recording, we don't, we want you to practice listening, taking notes, and all those things, right? How many questions and what type of questions? Okay, so don't worry too much about it at this stage. We will learn something and then we talk about this, right? Time schedule. Okay, time schedule would be, so we starting generally at 9, now 9:16. Yes, so we can, hopefully we will continue till about, yeah, I will give you tea break at 11, right? Tea break at 11. And then we will start from 11:30 to roughly around, depending on the time that you take, like, so not only lecturing, so if there are questions, so it will take a bit longer. Otherwise, the duration would be from 11:30 to, let's say, around 2 o'clock, 1:30 to 2 o'clock. So then we will continue and without taking lunch break. So that's what I expect, because you know, today is also considered to be a holiday, so many of you may have other things to do. So when will be the quiz? I think I have already mentioned the quiz will be on the Wednesday after the second lecture, right? A note PDF. Well, actually, this slide will be uploaded in PDF form to the LMS. So that is going to be your short note kind of thing. But if you want to write your own notes, that's up to you. Please do so, and that will be really helpful, as I mentioned before, right? So I think that clarifies basic things before we starting off. So we will continue and planning on having late lunch break at the end, so that we will have a tea break, so that you can have snack or something to continue for the rest of the part of the lecture, right? So let me start giving an introduction to the lecturer. I think it is important that you all know who I am. I am Professor Indika Herath from Department of Plantation Management. So I'm working as a professor in soil and environmental sciences in the Department of Plantation Management in the Faculty of Agriculture and Plantation Management while the university. And my first degree was from University of Peradeniya, Bachelor of Science in Agriculture, specialized in soil science. And then I did my master's in the same university, University of Peradeniya, in tropical soil management in Postgraduate Institute of Agriculture. And then I did my PhD in soil and environmental sciences in the Institute of Agriculture and Environment at Massey University, New Zealand. And so you can see that I have given my official email address and also telephone number, so that you all can, like, if you have any clarifications or anything, please use this official email. So that's about myself, and so it is important that you know who is the teacher, right? So That's my background about soil science and environmental sciences. So that is mostly related to the land related properties and how it is to be managed for sustainable agriculture and all those things. When it comes to sustainable, so we also need to consider about the environment. So that's why this course is designed as land and soil management under environmental faculty, right? Environment for agriculture, right? So we will start off. These are the intended learning outcomes, right? Intended learning outcomes. On successful completion of this course, you all should be able to identify land characteristics and their importance in agriculture. So I'll tell you what, when it comes to land, people, modern agriculture, sometimes people think that, oh, okay, we don't want land or soil to cultivate crops. Let's see how it goes and whether it is needed, right? So I will try my best to speak very clearly and slowly, because you all are doing diploma, so that means you're starting off, most of you are starting off with after your A levels, starting off with the course offered by university. So therefore, some of you may have difficulty in understanding. So therefore, I'll. So let me mute you all. Because I can see disturbances. Please try as much as possible to mute your microphones, because otherwise it will be disturbing to others. Yes, yeah, identify land characteristics and their importance in agriculture, and also explain the role of soil resource and its characteristics for crop production. So those are the intended learning outcomes of this section, this part of the course, right? Then we're going to talk about, actually, first of all, I must congratulate you all for being selected for this course, especially selecting agriculture as your profession, because more than ever before, so now people have understood the importance of agriculture, because in the recent pandemic conditions, when we had last 2-3 years, we had an issue of carrying or transporting or taking foods from one place to another. So that was an issue during our period of COVID-19 pandemic. We all realized that how important for us to be self-sufficient in food, because otherwise we all have to depend on some food produced in somewhere else, so which is not very healthy way of living, right? So therefore we all understood that, and we are living in a country where agriculture can be practiced almost everywhere in the island. So therefore it is almost every part in everywhere in, I mean, all part of the country. So we have land resource where we can do agriculture, we can practice agriculture. So therefore it is for us, it is really important how to do it properly and how it can be improved to make a considerable contribution to the economy of the country. So with that concept in mind, so when we talk about agriculture, sometimes people think that agriculture is all about planting trees or planting crops and then harvesting and taking something out of it. So agriculture is much more broader than that. It's not only about plants, it's also about rearing animals, right? So agriculture is cultivation of crops and rearing animals to produce food for human consumption. So this is general definition. So it's not only about actually human consumption. This is one of the definition. It's all about, like, we use the term food for when it is human consumption. But if we going to produce food for animals, we use another name, another term. Any one of you know what is the term used for food for animals? Yes. So I see. It's really good that you. Yeah. So some of you use the chat option to provide answers. That's really good. Feed. Yes. That's the difference between food and feed. 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 Feed means the food for animals, right? So when we talk about food, it's mostly for human, but when it comes to feed are for animals, right? So agriculture is about crops and cultivating of crops and also rearing animals. So there are some various, I have given you a bunch of words that is used in agriculture. Sometimes like it's like in the world, there are general words that are used, right? So you can, you all know what seed is. Seed is a beginning of a plant. Generally, you can't actually. It's like a chicken and egg concept. Who born first, and seed. Without plant, you might not be able to get seed, and without seed, you will uh, not generate. I mean, like there are some plants that can grow without seeds. That is from branches of mother plant, but seeds and plants are like mother and children relationship, right? So likewise, uh, there are various other terms that are used, right? Growing, crop, harvesting, and landscape, nature, farmland, grain, organic, gardening. So there are various things that is your farming, gardening. Um, Actually, all of them are related to agriculture, but uh, there are various differences, right? So small differences. So time to time we will talk about them as well. When it comes to agriculture, like so I prefer people think agriculture as an art, because it's not like if you think about what we can do with agriculture and having crops, rearing animals, we can do many things. So therefore, it is considered to be an art and business, because we it's not only about our consumption, so we want to get an income out of it. So therefore, it's need to be a business of cultivating crops and rearing livestock. Okay, so the word livestock, if you do not know what is the term livestock, if you do not know what is the term livestock, so we will discuss that it's more about rearing animals. So we will see what it is when it comes to when we talk about livestock aspects. So I think you have a component on animal science related part. So you will learn more detail about livestock aspect there in the course. And for the time being, so it's agriculture is having two main parts. One is cultivating of crops and raising livestock. So it is also called, especially for livestock, it is called farming or animal husbandry, right? So therefore, so livestock component involve animals. So therefore, people generally use animal husbandry, right? So that is the way of talking about these industries, right? So who's the person writing on the screen? Please, can you stop that? So I can do all those activities. I can stop all those activities from here, but I give the freedom for students to ask questions and make your comments, but overuse it or exploit it, because this is something that you not only about learning agriculture or earning qualification, but also how to deal with how to behave in a lecture, because if you are planning to do further studies, so you may have to merge into the culture that is in universities. If you are learning from university, you need to know how to follow a lecture and how to ask a question, and how to interact with the lecturers, with teachers or lecturers. So therefore, make sure that you so you will be given a chance at the end of the lecture to follow or to ask any questions that you have or clarification. So at that time you can ask questions. In the meantime, you can send your questions or clarifications or comments to the chat box as well, right? So I hope that that will allow everyone to have their own time rather than getting disturbed by others. And the products of agriculture are fruits, vegetables, and livestock products. As you already know, if we plant a crop, so we will get fruits, right? Sometimes in terms of nuts, or otherwise in terms of maybe leaves, branches, leaves, or any kind of product. It doesn't necessarily need to be a fruit. And sometimes vegetables, leafy vegetables, we take whole plant out. And also products from livestock. It can be eggs or meat or anything, milk or anything like that. So in other words, agriculture is a source of food that we eat, right? That we already know that the food sources, everything is coming from agriculture sector. Food is one of the primary needs for human. Without food, a person will not be able to survive. So we will not be able to continue our life without food. So therefore, production of food by agriculture is very important. That's why we are learning about it. So when it comes to when we talk about the interaction of, agriculture is compared to the natural systems. For example, we see that the mostly used best example for natural system is forest. If you go to a forest, you can see that there are a number of plants, right? There are a number of plants. So though all these plants are of different kind, right? That means so you might see one type of plant, and if you move around and look around, you will see another type of plant. So it's not the same type of or same variety that is growing in a forest, right? But when it comes to agriculture, if you see a difference in agricultural environment and natural environment, you will see in agriculture we manipulate our environment. We change our environment, right? අපි මේ ස්වභාවික පරිසරයකුයි අපේ ඇග්‍රිකල්චර් නැත්නම් කෘෂි කර්මය කරන පරිසරයකුයි ගත්තොත් ඔයගලන්ට හැදිලි වෙනසක් දකින්න පුළුවන්. ඒකේ වෙනස තමයි අපි අපේ කෘෂි කර්මය කරන පරිසරය අපි වෙනස් කරනවා අපිට ඕන විදියට. නම් ස්වභාවික පරිසරය හැම නෙමෙයි. So natural system is having high variability because plants are different. But when it comes to agriculture, so we cultivate only the plants that are needed to us. So there will be less variability, right? There will be less variability. So therefore, we will not be able to see the variation that we see in the forest, right? So we will not be able to see that natural processes happening in agricultural land. So therefore, it is pretty much integration of natural, because plants are growing, naturally plants are growing on land. So what we have done is we have selected which plant we want, right? But if those plants are also naturally growing in the land, maybe not in the place where we want, but in somewhere else, right? In a place somewhere else, it will be growing. So therefore, agriculture is a natural system, but we manipulate it, right? We change it in the way that we want. Agriculture වල අපි කරන්නේ ස්වභාවිකවම හැදෙන දේවල් අරගෙන අපිට ඕන දේවල් විතරක් එක තැනක වවනවා. ඒත් එක්කම so what we do is like we change the way that natural system works. අපි natural system එකේ සමහරට ඇලක් දොලක් ගංගාවක් තියෙනවා. එන්න පුළුවන් අපි ඒක වෙන පැත්තකට හරවන්න පුළුවන් agriculture. ඒ වගේ අපි වෙනස්කම් කරනවා. ඒ වෙනස්කම් නිසා පරිසරයත් වෙනස් වෙනවා. Right? So the environment will change because of that changes, right? So when it comes to agriculture, we have natural system, the environmental services, natural services. But when we do agriculture, it is pretty much integration of human system and natural system. It is intermediate process, right? Intermediate process. So in this intermediate process, what we do is we bring the natural system, but in a way that we want, right? So that means there is the involvement of human and natural. There are some properties of natural system. We have to know that and understand that we really need agriculture. Agriculture is something that people, not only about farming, as I mentioned before, we can't do anything without having food, as I mentioned. So therefore, we need to have food for our consumption, as well as food for the animals that we are rearing. So why we rear animals? To get this protein source, especially we need meat and other products like milk, meat and eggs. So those things we want to feed those animals if we are rearing them. So we need to do agriculture to feed ourselves and to feed the animals that we want, right? This means the most of us actually sometimes do not know about what agriculture means, because many people think that it's only about growing a plant and getting yield, right? And so when we come to the food that we eat, everything that is provided, so the nutrients that are needed for us is provided by the food that we eat, right? So especially the food that we eat, consider about mainly the rice. Rice is a common component of many of us, many of our food plate. So it contains carbohydrate, right? So it is it provides us carbohydrate. And, there are other carbohydrate sources, bread, pasta, those kind of things that provide energy, right? And also food rich in protein, such as meat, fish, chicken, egg, milk, and cheese, and those things. Those are building blocks of our human body, right? So it is needed for muscle formation. So therefore, we want to have balanced food from both these agricultural things and animal component. And not only that, we need vitamins. So vitamins are provided by mainly fruits and vegetables. So our life is built up of these things, right? So therefore, we need these things for maintenance of our body and therefore our life, right? So when you think about why agriculture is important, so it's about feeding ourselves and animals. And when it comes to agriculture, when compared to the traditional way of doing agriculture, now the technology has uh, keep on playing a very big role in agriculture, right? So if you think about recent technologies that were introduced to agriculture sector, you know, the drones and sensor technologies. That means when we earlier days when we use fertilizer and water for plants, we just go and apply them without thinking about how much needed and those things. But nowadays we can use the technology to manage what is the specific need of plant and soil to provide the external inputs like fertilizer or water. So therefore, the technology, if we are thinking about improving the agriculture sector, we have to think about the technology, use of technology and the modern way of doing agriculture. So we will talk about that as well, right? Agricultural industry ensure the country's food security. So I think the best example is, in the past couple of years, so we have been doing big changes in the agriculture sector by stopping or we stopped bringing fertilizer from outside, so that we had to face a huge problem of providing required nutrients for the plants. So that resulted in not having enough food in the country, right? So likewise, if we have blocked the production process, so we are going to ultimately, that comes to ourselves as humans. So it might be taking a bit longer for us to understand, but in the process, if we stop the agricultural processes, if we do not encourage agricultural production, so no matter what other things that we do, so we will have bad consequences of those impact that causes agricultural production, right? Agricultural production කියන එක අපි කෘෂිකාර්මික නිෂ්පාදනයට බාධා වෙන විදිහට මොනවා හරි වැඩක් කරොත් එහෙම අපි ඒකේ ප්‍රතිඵලය අපිට ඒ වෙලාවෙම දකින්න නැති වෙන්න පුළුවන්. දැන් මේ පහුගිය අවුරුදු කීපය දැක්කා වගේ අපිට සමහර වෙලාවට ඒකේ ප්‍රතිඵලය එන්නේ අවුරුද්දක් අමාරක් ගියාට පස්සේ. ඒකෝට අපිට සමහර වෙලාවට ඒවා කරෙක්ට් කරන්නත් බැරි වෙනවා. අර අපි පොහොර තහනමත් එක්ක අපිට එක්ස්පීරියන්ස් වුණ දේ ඕගොල්ලන්ට හොඳට තේරෙන්නේ නැති අපි plants වලට nutrients දෙන පොහොර කියන එක නැවැත්තුවොත් එහෙම අපි කොහොමද මේ production එක වැඩි කරන්න කියලා අපි එක එක විදියට කිව්වට ඒක කරන්න ගියපුවාම ඕගොල්ලෝ දකින්නේ නැති මේ production එකට ලොකු බලපෑමක් වෙනවා. එතකොට කෘෂිකාර්මික නිෂ්පාදන අඩු වුණ ගමන් ඊට පස්සේ ඊළඟ බලපෑම එන්නේ අපේ කෑම, ඊට පස්සේ අපේ පෝෂණය, ඊට පස්සේ ඒක ඔක්කොම මේ අපේ food chain එක ඊට පස්සේ economy එකට බලපානවා. කියන්නේ ආර්ථිකයට බලපානවා. මේ විදිහට එහෙම ගලාගෙන යනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි primary production නැත්නම් agriculture කෘෂිකාර්මික නිෂ්පාදනය කියන එකට අපිට priority දෙන්නම වෙලා තියෙනවා. දැන් අපේ especially විශේෂයෙන්ම කියනවා අපේ වගේ ආර්ථිකයක් තියෙන රටක අපිට අපි කෘෂිකර්මාන්තයෙන් අනිවාර්යෙන් ප්‍රයෝජනය ලබා ගන්න ඕනේ. එහෙම නැති වුණොත් ආර්ථිකය ගොඩනගන්න බැරි වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා පළවෙනියට මම හරි කැමතියි ඔයගොල්ලෝ ඇග්‍රිකල්චර් තෝරා ගැනීම සම්බන්ධයෙන්. මොකද මේ ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එකට කවදාවත් ලෝකේ ඕනම තැනක ෆියුචර් එකක් තියෙන ඉන්ඩස්ට්‍රි එකක්. ඒ කියන්නේ ඕගොල්ලන්ට තේරෙනවා without agriculture some countries will be able to do it because they have money to buy the food that are produced in other countries. But in an economy that we don't have enough money to purchase, and then so if we do not produce enough food for our people, so then there will be a huge crisis. So most of part of the world, so we will see that people, the countries that are promoting agriculture because they need to safeguard their food production, right? Not only supplying those food that we need, agriculture also help in cleaning air, because think about not like other industrial systems, agriculture help to clean air. How it happens? කොහොමද agriculture මේ අපේ පරිසරය පිරිසිදු කරන්න නැත්නම් වාතය පිරිසිදු කරන්න කොහොමද සහභාගී වෙන්නේ? Those who have done advanced level in science, not only advanced level, I think in ordinary level also, in your O levels you learn about the process of photosynthesis, right? Photosynthesis, ප්‍රභා සංශ්ලේෂණය කියන process එක ඕගොල්ලෝ ඔක්කොම ඉගෙනගෙන ඇති. හරිත අප්‍රද තියෙන plants වල කොළ පාටට පේන plants වල මේ වෙන process එකක් මම හිතන්නේ හැමෝම අහලා ඇති. So all of you have learned about photosynthesis that is happening in plants. So those plants, yes, I think yeah, there are some many of the students have done agriculture. That's good. If you have not learned agriculture, don't worry too much about it. So so we will starting from point where you do not have any idea about agriculture. So therefore, those who did not do agriculture, you don't have to worry, because we will starting from the very beginning, right? And so yes, yeah, I can see the answer in the chat. The crops will release oxygen, absorbing carbon dioxide. Oxygen is needed for us to breathe, right? So therefore, plants have the ability to release oxygen, taking up carbon dioxide. So therefore, not like other industries, agriculture sector, when we grow plants, right? When we grow plants, so that will also help to not only it provide us food, but also it clean the environment as well, right? So especially the crop plants release oxygen. So that is needed for all of us to breathe. So therefore, the photosynthetic process provide us clean air as well. So, and if we talk a little bit more about agriculture, because without talking about that, we can't go for talking about land, right? So why land is important for agriculture? We want to know what is agriculture. Then only we can link the relationship between it's really good that many of you have answered yes, the process of photosynthesis. Yeah. And most of all, the agriculture promotes good health, because if you make the right choice in food, especially the pattern of consumption, so we have the naturally grown food from agriculture sector. So if we make the right choice, we can have a healthy life. So these food supply our body's energy and needed other nutrients that are needed for the maintenance of our life. Also, if we take healthy diet, so that will protect us from illness and other diseases. And the fruit and vegetables are generally boost your immune system, so that we can prevent getting diseases, right? agriculture produce food that makes us healthy and strong. So therefore, now you know what is the importance of agriculture and the role of agriculture in our survival, right? So now we know what is agriculture, and then we are going to have a look. So in the agricultural production system, what are the factors that are needed for this production system? So we need to have land. So that's why we talk about land in this course. We need land for agriculture. So someone might now think that, okay, why not we cultivate plants in-house? So there are ways and means that you can grow some plants inside the building. But even for construction of a building, we need to have a land, right? So land is essential component for agricultural production, right? Land. And then we need some labor. We need to do work. We need to manipulate our environment in the way that we want. So then it needs some involvement of human. So that means we need labor, right? And also we need capital. So it needs certain amount of money, and we need to invest some capital to do a production, right? So it's not natural system, so we have to change it. That change need some labor as well as some capital, right? So therefore we need labor, land, capital, and also we need to have a production system. To design this system or establish this system, we need entrepreneur, right? So there should be a person who think about how to do it, right? So likewise, we need these 4 things for production process. We call it factors of production. Production is these are not working isolatedly, these are working together, right? So we need land, labor, capital, and entrepreneur. So all these things has to be working together to make a product. So in this course, we are not going to talk about who is entrepreneur and who is it, because you have some other courses doing that. And also capital, how to invest and all those things. We will not be talking much about that, but there will be some point where we talk about capital that is for selecting best land, right, for particular purpose. So we talk about that aspect of capital. And labor, once again, so it's in this course we will not focusing on these 3 mainly. We will be looking at land aspect, right? Any questions so far? So then we are moving on to see what is land, right? If we want to talk about, now previously I talked much about agriculture, now about land, because the relationship can only be building up if you know about both of them, right? So you should know about agriculture, you should know about basic things about land. Then we can see the link between agriculture and land, right? So land is, sorry about repeating the same word, land is the surface of the earth where we live. That is the most simple thing that I can say. Land is the surface of the earth where we live, right? It includes soil. Soil is the thing that is on the surface of the land, right? Most of the time. But there are other things like rocks and those things. But soil, everyone knows about soil. Soil is included in the component of land, and also underlying geology, whether what is underneath soil, right? So there are geological aspects. There are some rocks, and there are types of rocks. So hard rocks, soft rocks, and these rocks can have various characteristics, right? And then topography. Topography is the elevation related. aspect of the land. That means high, low, right? There are some high areas in the land, and then there are some lower elevated areas. අපි දැන් කන්දක් ගත්තොත් මුදුනේ කන්දේ පල්ලෙහායි ඒ දෙක අතර topographical difference එකක් තියෙනවා. topography කියන්නේ අන්න ඒ වගේ දෙයක්. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ elevation එක based කරගෙන land එකේ තියෙන property එකට තමයි අපි topography කියලා කියන්නේ. So all natural inland water bodies, waterways, plants, animals, everything that is belong to land, right? So everything that is on the land is considered the land as a resource, right? From legal point of view, land is any soil or piece of earth on the surface, right? So it also includes the plant, water, atmosphere, right? අපි දැන් land එකක් ගත්තපුවාම මේ land එක යට මේ අපි දන්නවනේ භූගත ජලය තියෙනවා කියලා. ඒකත් ඒකටම තමයි ආයිති වෙන්නේ. අපි land කියලා නිකන් උඩ තියෙන පස විදිහට විතරක් අපි හිතුවට so ඒකත් එක්ක on the other hand the air, that is atmospheric condition, also include that. ඒ කියන්නේ වාතය ඒ land එකේ තියෙන වාතය land එකෙන් කොටසක් විදිහට තමයි අපි consider කරන්නේ. Right? So when we talk about land, there are various we can, for us to learn easily, we categorize the things that are present in the land. So it comprises of physical environment, including climate, relief means slope, and soils present in it, and then hydrology, vegetation, and those things. Those are these influence the potential for land use. When it comes to land, depending on what environment that is present in that land, and also the climate in the area, everything gives a value to the land. ඔගොල්ලෝ දන්නවා තෙත් කලාපේ භූමියක වටිනාකම නෙමෙයි වියලි කලාපේ land එක තියෙන්නේ. ඒකට හේතුව තමයි the environment, right? So the growing environment is different. So therefore, even the land is similar, because of the environment, it has a different value. මම හිතනවා ඔයගොල්ලන් තේරෙනවා ඇති කියන එක. අපි එකම land එක වුණත් තැන් දෙකක තිබුණොත් ඒ තැන අනුව ඒකේ වටිනාකම වෙනස්. That is given by the environment. The same land that is in a city and a rural area is different, the value of land, because that gives not because of the land, but because of the environment that is where that is present, right? So therefore, that environment is also included the value of the land. Not only that, but also if the land has been doing on this land, if there has been doing certain activities, that will also affect the current value of the land, current status of the land. Because if someone has been burying, let's say, electronic waste, computers, television, other electronic gadgets, ඒ වගේ අයින් වෙන waste අපි land එකේ දිගටම dump කරලා ඒ පොළව යට දාලා තිබ්බනම් එහෙම ඒ land එකේ තියෙන quality එකට ඒකත් බලපානවා. That's why we are talking that it includes the past and the present human activity. ඒ කියන්නේ දැන් කරන සහ ඉතිහාසයේ කරන ලද ඒ land එක උඩ කරන ලද දේවල් බලපානවා ඒ land එකේ quality එකට. කියන්නේ ඒකේ ගුණාත්මයට බලපානවා. Therefore, land is not only about soil. Many people think that the land is the surface characteristics. It's not only surface characteristics, it's above ground and below ground. ඒ කියන්නේ land එකෙන් උඩ තියෙන දේවල් සහ යට තියෙන දේවල් land එකේම කොටස් තමයි. ඒත් ඒවා ගැන අපි කරපු දේවල් ඉතිහාසයේ. In the past, if we did something, so that is also going to affect the quality of the land, right? So that is about land, right? Okay. So there are some definitions that we have to use. Some of you may have already heard a word called land use. මේ දෙක වචන දෙකක් වුණාට land use කියලා අපි use කරනවා එක term එක. So we use a term called land use. Land use is considered as the manner in which man has used the land. ඒ කියන්නේ land use එක කියන්නේ දැනට අපි හිතමු current land use කියලා අපි කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් කිව්වොත් එහෙම what is the current land use of that land? ඒ කියන්නේ මොනවද දැනට ඒ land එක තියෙන්නේ කියන්නේ. What it has been using for. ඒක මොනවටද මේ වෙනකම් පාවිච්චි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ කියන එකට අපි කියනවා land use එක. So it includes, it reflects the spatial pattern, that means over the period of time. Spatial means from one place to another, right? So that is the spatial difference, right? It reflects the spatial pattern of the activity and due to the present and the past actions by the human. It can be residential, commercial, agricultural, and recreational use, right? So there are some human activities, like if we have been using that for agricultural purpose, then it is agricultural land use. There can be recreational uses like swimming pools and park and anything like that, right? If there has been something related to that, so that land has been used for recreational purposes. So there can be residential purposes, that means people build houses and then there are other surroundings related to gardening and all those things. That is residential, right? Commercial means if you have like, industrial thing, factory or other commercial entity, if you establish something on the land, so that is a commercial use. There are various different land use, right? So in that land purpose of that land use, if we go into agriculture in detail, so agricultural land uses can also again be divided into various parts like perennial crops, annual crops. Perennial means if a crop lives more than 1 or 2 years, ඒ කියන්නේ බහුවාර්ෂික අවුරුදු ගාණක් කව තියෙන මොනවා හරි crop එකක් තියෙනවා නම් we call it's a perennial crop land use, right? That means it is under the cultivation of perennial crops. බහුවාර්ෂික භෝග වගා කරලා තියෙනවා නම් ඒක ඒ land use එක අපි categorize කරනවා perennial crop land. Likewise, we have various land use patterns, right? So it's even within agriculture there can be other categories, but basically residential, commercial, agricultural, recreational, so those are the basic categories. It also includes the lands under forest, fallow areas, and land use for other infrastructure development, roads and playgrounds and all those things, right? Yes, so fallow මම හිතන්නේ fallow කියන word එක ඔයගලන්ට අලුත් ඇති. fallow කියන්නේ අපි, so if we think about what is fallow period, is the period that we do not cultivate a crop. So for example, you already know what are the main seasons in Sri Lanka. Yala and Maha generally considered. So in between these two, there is a time period where we don't grow any crop, right? So that is time period that we call fallow period or fallow land, right? So that means we don't do a cultivation during that period, right? So that is about land use, right? Land use means what purpose the land is being used. And land use planning, there is another term that we use, which is called land use planning. It is a systematic assessment. You carefully look at land, what is the potential of the land. ඒ කියන්නේ භූමියේ තියෙන විභවය මොන වගේ දේවල් වලට මේක පාවිච්චි කරන්න පුළුවන්ද කියලා plan කරන එකට තමයි අපි කියන්නේ land use planning කියලා. So the land and water potential and also alternatives for land use. For example, if we have a land where water is logging on the land, water logging condition එකක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ කියන්නේ වතුර බහින්නේ නැති, වතුර රඳන්නේ නැති, වතුර මේ හැමතිස්සෙම රැඳිලා තියෙන. එහෙම එකක් තියෙනවා නම් අපි ඒක බලනවා. What we can understand that certain crops cannot grow in that kind of environment. ඒ වගේ භූමියක සමහර පැල හැදෙන්නෙම නැහැ කියලා අපි දන්නවා. නමුත් we can think what kind of crops that would be able to grow in that environment. There can be other uses that is very useful, maybe not for the purpose that we want, but there can be other different options that we can utilize that land. ඒකට තමයි land use planning. That is for economic social condition. We consider the land use and economic. When you are doing land use planning, we consider economic and social conditions, and in order to select and adapt the best land use option. Its purpose is to select or put into practice the land for its best use. මේක කරන purpose එක තමයි හොඳම ප්‍රයෝජනවත්ම දෙයට land එක use කරන එක. Right? So this is being actually before you investing on doing agriculture. කෘෂි කර්මයට අපි මොන හරි කරන්න දෙයක් හිතාගෙන ඉන්නවා නම් අපි ආයෝජනය කරනවා නම් මෙන්න මේ විදිය දෙයක් අපි කරනවා. Land use plan. That means the land has to be utilized for the best purpose. එක අවශ්‍ය කරන හොඳම දේ තමයි අපි land එක utilize කරන්නේ. එහෙම plan එකක් නැති නිසා තමයි ගොඩක් මේක this has been happening in Sri Lanka for over many hundred years, right? අවුරුදු ගාණක් තිස්සේ අපේ ලංකාවේ මේ land use planning කියන එක not like in other countries. We have policies, but we don't have such assessment for our land. So therefore, that is the reason that we get coconut for 120 rupees, 150 rupees. That is because if you go around like intermediate zone, wet zone, where the coconut is grown, you can see that people we call it land fragmentation. We see that people use the word develop. Okay, so people use the word developing the land. What kind of development they do? They break the land into pieces and then sell it for the residential purpose. So very productive agricultural land is used for residence. So in that case, the countries that are developing, like developed, most of the countries, they do not utilize the agricultural lands for residential purposes. Again, කෘෂි කර්මයට හොඳ මේ land එකක් කවදාවත් factory එකක් හදන්න හරි ගෙවල් හදන්න හරි utilize කරන්නේ නැහැ ලෝකේ අනිත් රටවල්. They identify the best land for agriculture and they do agriculture in that area. And then for residents, they have separated land areas where all the facilities are available, like infrastructure, playgrounds, swimming pool, and everything. And they build houses in that area where there are people have all other facilities available, whereas the agriculture is practiced in a best suited land area. In our country, we have number of policies, but none of those policies are working. And then what we do is, like we have been doing, best agricultural land is being used for other purposes and they will never come back to agriculture. So now we are in a crisis where we can't produce enough food for ourselves because the land is limited. Right? On the other hand, like not only the developed countries, think about the countries like Malaysia, the Philippines, Malaysia, those kind of countries, they have policies where agriculture is centralized into areas where it is highly productive. And the residence is generally the residential areas, they build storied buildings so that they can collect all the wastewater and everything. It is very easy to manage, right? So you don't have to, do the collecting of waste, running vehicles all over the country, because the residential areas are confined to the particular area, so that the collection of waste, distribution of water, wastewater, everything is well planned, right? Now we have in the morning, so we see that the collecting of waste is doing all over the country, everywhere, right? Household waste, and then agriculture is all over the place, right? So yes, so that's because of the poor land use plan, right? Land use planning is extremely poor, so therefore we do agriculture everywhere in the country, and we have residential areas everywhere in the country. And also, not only that, on top of that, we have industrial areas all over the country. So that is because of the poor land use plan, right? So that has been a problem in the problem in our country for many years. And there are a few other definitions that I want to talk to you about land capability classification. ඔගොල්ලන් capability කියන වචනේ දන්නවා ඇති, හැකියාව. Is he capable of doing something? ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ පුද්ගලයා මේ හැකියාවක් තියනවද මේ වැඩේ කරන්න කියලා අපි අහන්නේ. ඒ වගේ land capability classification, that is the classification of land, whether land is capable for, right? Whether land is capable for something. This classification of land, right? So this is in terms of overall potential of land use in specified ways with specific management practices. So if we want to have a particular do a particular activity on land, so we see whether the land is capable of supporting that. And the other definition I want to talk to is land suitability, right? That is, the suitability is the fitness. You all know what is fitness, right? Fitness of a given land area for specific kind of use, right? For example, let's see, this is well practiced in coconut, right? Coconut industry. Especially people, before going for investment of planting coconut, they do a land suitability assessment, right? Land suitability, whether this land is suitable for cultivation of coconut, right? And so this is because some plants, once you invest on planting them, they will last for about 50-60 years. Samanne coconut වගේ ගහක් කොච්චර කාලයක් පවතිනවා කියලාද ඔයගොල්ලෝ හිතන්නේ? So how long if we invest on planting coconut? So how long it will last? Economical lifespan කොච්චරද? Anyone of you know about how long the coconut plant gives us yield? Anyone in the industry? How long the coconut land will giving us products once it is established? Anyone?
Madam, 4 years.
4 years කියලා මම හිතනවා ඔයා කියන්නේ ගෙඩි හැදෙන්න. So ඒ කියන්නේ හිටවපු දවසේ ඉඳන් ගෙඩි හැදෙන්න. ඒ වගේ එකක් වෙන්න ඕනි. මම අහන්නේ, so what I am asking is, once it is started producing nuts, how long we can get the yield? until the end of the plant period.
40 years.
40 years, yeah, I can see that, yeah, many of you are giving answers. There is one correct answer as well. Okay.
Two months, not like that, miss.
Yes, what was it? Can I?
2 months like that.
2 months. Yeah. So I think what you're thinking is like what is the time period that we can get yield? It is not the one that I'm. Yeah. How?
Grow up
Yeah.
the.
Yeah. The question is how long we can then. අපි දැන් මෙහෙම හිතනවානේ දැන් බල්ලෙක් කොච්චර කාලයක් ජීවත් වෙනවා කියලා අපි බලනවා. ඒ වගේ plant එකක් සමහර crops. Yeah, so actually, yeah, economical lifespan is considered as 60 to 70 years. අවුරුදු 60ක් 70ක් විතර ආර්ථිකමය වශයෙන් අපිට ප්‍රයෝජනයක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. So අවුරුදු 100ක් විතර ගිය ගසුත් තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේනුත් පුළුවන්. නමුත් අර productivity, when we talk about the maximum productivity, so it gives a yield economically valid, economically viable lifespan is about 60 to 70 years. So that in case that we have such kind of investment to be made on a land, then we have to know whether this land is suitable. Otherwise, so you're going to lose the income for 60, 70 years, right? So therefore, people tend to evaluate the land for their suitability. So that means that is a service provided by Coconut Research Institute. If you request, they will come and see, or they will provide you with the instructions whether this land is suitable for new cultivation of coconut. So that you can decide on whether you want to invest on that land for cultivation of. Likewise, most of the perennial crops, people do investment only after doing the suitability assessment, right? So land suitability means whether the land is fit for that purpose. It can be cultivation of crop, it can be rearing animals. So for a farm animal production or anything like that. So we need to see whether it is suitable. And suitability assessment, evaluation, right? Land suitability evaluation is the process of assessment whether the land is suitable for specific purpose. Example, arable farming, conservation forestry, likewise, right? So we can do an assessment or evaluation whether this land is suitable for the purpose. It involves interpretation of information about land form, soil type, vegetation, climate, and other aspects of the land, right? So it is not only about the land's surface characteristics, but also above ground, below ground, and climatic factors. So then only we can decide whether this land is suitable, right? So and also sometimes consider the social and economical information as well in order to identify whether this is suitable land for that purpose, right? So therefore, land suitability evaluation is a process that we conduct to assess whether the land is good for cultivation of that particular crop. Yes, now the finally pretty much, so we have been doing the definition so far. One of the important things that we want to discuss here, I want to emphasize it, sustainable land use, right? The word sustainable, most people now using is sustainable because we understand that some of the practices that we have been doing is not sustainable, right? So sustainability means when we use the something continuously, especially when talk about land, the continuous use of land is possible without severe or serious damage to the environment or deterioration to the quality of the environment. So without having that damage, if we can continue cultivation or we can continue using it, so then it is sustainable. But in case that when we are using the land, if we destroy or deteriorate the quality of the environment, then that is going to be a problem, right? So in that case, we call it unsustainable, right? The sustainability is using for a long period of time without any harm to the environment, right? Okay, so the next topic that we're going to talk about is how to select a land for agriculture. If now we know what is agriculture, now we know what are the properties and the characteristics of land. So we're going to now talk about the link, how to select a land for agriculture, right? So there are various things that we want to discuss, right? There are factors need to be considered, especially when we selecting a land for agricultural purpose, right? What are these factors? Right? We call it factors to be considered in selection of land for farming purposes. So there are a list of properties or factors that need to be considered. Very first one is climatic factors, because agriculture is very sensitive to climate. And so, for example, if we don't get enough rainfall over a period of time, then there will be an issue, right? Then there will be an issue because plants will die without water, right? So if there is not enough rainfall, then we will be in trouble. And socio-economic factors, right? There are, whether we have a market, whether there is a demand for that particular product. We need to consider them before we doing a selection, a location for doing farming practice. Environmental factors or edaphic factors, we will talk about it later. But environmental factors, in detail, we will be talking about each one of these things, right? And the government policies, like what happened in the past, so all of a sudden overnight, if government stop fertilizer importation, then there has been a huge problem followed by that decision. So that's because our crops are very sensitive and our soils has not been able to provide required nutrients. අපි පසෙන් විතරක් නියුට්‍රියන්ට්ස් දෙනවා කියලා හිතාගෙන හිටියට එහෙම හරියන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද අපේ පසත් ඒ තරම්ම නියුට්‍රියන්ට් රිච් පසක් නෙවෙයි. එතකොට අපිට අනිවාර්යයෙන් external inputs අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. So we also need external inputs for agriculture. So that are all, most of those external inputs are coming from outside of the country. We do have some resources, but they are not sufficient, right? And also biotic factors. Biotic means the factors that are related to biological activities, right? So likewise, there are factors to be considered, right? Okay, so when it comes to climatic factors, so where are we going to get climatic factors? For example, when we talk about crops, there are crops that grow in environment. So we need to know why especially the information is available on the requirement of the crop, whether this plant need to have this much of rainfall, this much of sunlight, this kind of period it need to be provide fertilizer, this much of fertilizer. Everything has been agricultural specialist, right? Agricultural scientists have found what are the need for crops, right? ඒ කියන්නේ අපි භෝගයක් ගත්තොත් ඒ භෝගයට අවශ්‍ය කරන වර්ෂාපතනය කීයද, මොහොර කොච්චරක් දාන්න ඕනේද, මොකද්ද සුදුසුම පස, ඒ වගේ දේවල් මේ වෙනකොට ගොඩක් crops වලට හොයාගෙන තමයි තියෙන්නේ agricultural scientists. What we need to know is when we utilize land, we have to go and find out whether the area, the climatic conditions are suitable, right? For that crop where it is being planted. අපි දැන් මේක plant කරන්න යන yes, those who are in agriculture, Department of Agriculture will be able to provide more information on this. I can see from agro advisor and those things. So those who are in the sector should be able to tell what are the other things where we can get climatic information, right? So we have a meteorological department where they provide us with all the things like forecast and everything. And we have data available, for example, in agriculture department website. If you go to that website, they have information on what is the level of rainfall and all those things. And there are leaflets, information on the web on climatic factors, right? The factors that are referring to rainfall, humidity, wind pressure, direction, temperature, all these information. There are substations of Met department where we can get this information, and we can also use the agroclimatic map that is available in the web. So you can use, yes, there is a telephone number 1920. So you can call them for particular crop. You can ask whether this is suitable, this area is suitable for particular crop. Here I forgot to mention Department of Agriculture. So in our system of, not like in other countries, we have complicated system. For example, certain crops are taken care of by the Department of Agriculture, and some crops are having their own institutes, especially the plantation sector. They have like for tea research institute, for rubber research institute, coconut research institute, and there is export agriculture department and Department of Agriculture. So we have various different government bodies which provide particular information for particular crops, right? So most of the crops are done by Department of Agriculture. So plantation crops, since they are very having huge industry, so they need more intensive research findings, and there are various things that marketing and all those things. So those things, since there are a lot of industries related to the plantation sector, they have separate organizations. Whereas Department of Agriculture has, other than the export agricultural crops, all other crops are advices are provided by Department of Agriculture. So you can go to the website of them, and then there are instant hotline numbers where you can call them and find out information. So in that case, the climatic factors, what we are going to talk about here is what kind of environment, climatic condition is suitable for that crop, whether that environment is available in the land that we have selected or we are going to select, right? So that is the most important thing that you need to think about. If not, right, for example, if someone want to invest on cultivating coconut, and you understand that the land area that you have selected do not have enough rainfall, okay, rainfall, coconut palm need about more than 1250 millimeters of annual rainfall. Then if the land available for you is not getting that amount of rainfall, so are we going to stop doing that process or starting the cultivation? We don't have to, because there are strategies that you can, if the rainfall is not sufficient, we can go for irrigation system. Only thing is you need to think about whether you have enough capital for that, because there should be a capital investment for doing that kind of activity. So as long as you have capital investment available, you are capable of doing it, so you can go ahead and do the that investment and start off the cultivation. So what we can do is, in that case, so you can estimate what is the amount of rainfall receiving and how much irrigation you need. So those kind of things can be assessed by the support, with the support of agricultural specialists. You have agricultural instructors in your area, so you can utilize their service, or otherwise, if it is related to coconut tea rubber, so those things, there are separate staff members in the government sector. Like for coconut, you have coconut development officers, CDOs. So they will provide you information with which variety is suitable and all those things. And also, if there is a climatic issue, they will tell you, so okay, this is the amount of rainfall we are getting, and this crop is this crop needs this much of rainfall. So how you going to fill the gap? So you can go ahead and do a investment on irrigation, and then the development officers will be able to tell you what kind of investment you can make, and whether there are kind of like support from the government to do those things. So in that way, we can do the analysis on whether we're going to invest or not, right? Okay, so this is a National Agriculture Information and Communication Center. You can go to these websites and get the service, and call them and find out whether they are whether your purpose can be served, right? And recently, I think you all are aware of this. Recently, we have a climate change issue. That means in the history, in the past, we had the environment where we get the rainfall in a certain period of time in the year, and we get like dry spell in the certain period of time. Now there are kind of like become very doubtful and messy whether this this pattern is still going to work, right? Whether there are those our pattern of rainfall and dry period. Okay, so NAICC website is not working. So okay, so there should be a link from Department of Agriculture website to that information center. So you can Google it and find out. And if there are other options, those who are in the agriculture sector might suggest. If so, if there is any other link, please share it with everyone else. Yes, the climate resilience agriculture. Why we need this? Because the climate, the pattern of climatic conditions, climatic factors, how they are changing, and those things have been very, very different in recent years, right? So what happens is, like, during the time period that we are supposed to getting rainfall, sometimes we don't get rainfall at that time, but during the time that we are supposed to get drought, now it's getting rainfall. So that kind of changes have been happening over the past years, because that is as a result of climate change that we all experience. And that is not a local situation, that is a global issue, right? මුළු ලෝකෙම තියෙන ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි මේ කාලගුණික විපර්යාස කියන එක. ඒව නිසා අපි ඉස්සර කරගෙන ගිය කෘෂි කර්මාන්තය ඒ විදිහට කරන්න අපහසු තත්ත්වයකට පත් වෙලා තියෙනවා. මොකද වෙදර් පැටර්න් එක වෙනස් වෙනවා. ඒතකොට වර්ෂ අපතනේ එන වෙලාවල් ඊපස්සේ really කාලයක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ සමහර ක්‍රොප්ස් වලට ඒවා. Okay, there is a question in the chat. Let me read it out for you so that everyone can benefit from it. A fallow period and dry period is the same or not? Dry period for cattle or other animals only. Okay. Well, I think yeah. So I understood the question. Fallow period and dry period, actually they are not same. Okay. Fallow period is a period where we don't cultivate any crop. That kind of thing is needed in agriculture. In certain irrigation schemes, after every 5 years, they have a season where you are not supposed to cultivate. As a rule, they do it and they do not provide irrigation water. එහෙම කරන ස්කීම්ස් තියෙනවා. ඕගොල්ලෝ බලන්න එහෙම කරන්න හේතුව තමයි අපිට agriculture, when we are doing agriculture, we need to provide so just let me turn off the video. So unfortunately, it's not working. So I'm trying to stop the video for. So make sure that I think you all are now familiar with the Zoom environment. Don't turn on your video unless you have like asking question or anything like that, because it's really disturbing to the others. Okay, so what I was telling. Actually, the fallow period and the dry period are not the same. In cultivation, I think you have confused with animal husbandry and the cultivation thing. In cultivation, we call fallow period means we don't cultivate crop. Mainly that is the purpose is. In some countries, like they have different weather conditions, so they avoid the bad weather period. So that period is automatically you consider as a fallow period. But in our country, throughout the year we can cultivate crops, but still fallow period is period where we purposely stop cultivating, allow the soil to regenerate by there is adding of organic matter by having weeds or any other plants. So therefore we don't cultivate. That is the fallow period. So that period is actually being utilized to regenerate or recover the organic matter that was lost during the cultivation. So that is the main purpose. So therefore it is very different from dry period. It doesn't necessarily need to be dry period, but the fallow period can be overlapped with dry period, right? Okay, the climate resilient agriculture is about when there is a climate change, we know what has been happening. The temperature increased and the rainfall intensity changes. So climate resilient agriculture means we are going to develop or change our cultivation pattern to resist the climate change, right? We try to avoid, we try to reduce or minimize the effect of climate change for our crops. We can do it by changing the cropping pattern, by changing the variety that we cultivate, because certain crops are able to tolerate that high temperatures, but some crops cannot. So what we do is we do practices where we can use the same, we can get the same yield even under changed climate. So therefore we select crops that are resistant to climate change. Climate resilient agriculture. There are various aspects. In agriculture, you know that we can do kind of genetical modification. අපි අර genes වෙනස් කරලා එහෙම කරන එකක් තියෙනනේ biotechnology පැත්තට යන. ඊට පස්සේ තව දෙයක් කරන්න පුළුවන් අපිට crop selection එකක් කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපිට list of varieties. Let's suppose we have 10-15 varieties. We select the variety cultivar that is that can tolerate the current environment. අපි දැන් මේ change වෙන climate එක ඔරොත්තු දෙන එකක් select කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම නැත්නම් අපිට ඒ වගේ ඔරොත්තු දෙන ජාන තියෙන crop එකකින් අරගෙන ඒ ජාන තව එකකට තව වෙනත් එකකට සම්බන්ධ කරලා අපිට අලුත් variety එකක් හදන්න පුළුවන්. ඒවා එන්නේ biotechnology පැත්තට. right? ඊට පස්සේ conventional agriculture වල අපිට පුළුවන් selection එකක් කරන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ අපි තියෙන ඔක්කොම මේ cultivate කරන crops වලින් අපි select කරනවා varieties වලින් select කරනවා මේ කාලගුණික විපර්යාස වලට ඔරොත්තු දෙන ඒවා මොනවද. So එහෙම කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. So ඊට අමතර so there are other things that we can do, like when the temperature increases, microbial activity increases. ඒ කියන්නේ අර ශුද්ධ ජීවි ක්‍රියාකාරීත්වය වැඩි වෙනවා. උෂ්ණත්වය වැඩි වෙනවා. එතකොට වෙන පාඩුවක් තමයි අපිට we have an issue when the temperature increases, microbial activity increases, so that the organic matter present in the soil will also increase. Carbonic ද්‍රව්‍ය present in the soil will decrease because high amount of consumption by microorganisms ලා මේක ඉක්මනට පාවිච්චි කරන නිසා carbon ප්‍රමාණය අඩු වෙනවා. So that is an issue as well. So for that actually so we have a solution like we can have a carbon sources where it does not very easily decompose and release carbon dioxide. Those kind of adaptation can be made. That is a package of things that we can do for climate resistant farm or agriculture, right? So there are some socio-economic factors as well in land selection of land. So we need to consider, there are various other factors that is needed for cultivation of land. Socio-economic factors including infrastructure, population, settlement, market, labor, and other things. When we are doing cultivation, we have previously talked about the climatic factors, now socio-economic factors, which are, of course, the availability of electricity, whether we can access the road access and those, right? So we will, we think about that, and then we can select a land which is mostly suitable depending upon the other infrastructure available. You may also need a market so close by, most likely for the availability of farm products for your products to be sold, and also the labor availability, right? So whether there is enough labor available, right? So those kind of things, right? The economic factors include also agricultural business to thrive. So we need to have the business areas, like market areas. So we need to see whether there is accessibility of those things in the areas where you cultivate. Otherwise, we have to account for the cost of transportation. It includes the cost and benefit calculation in terms of lease or acquisition of the land. And you need to carry out the feasibility study of the site, whether it is suitable for investment. And also we should not forget that we want to have a suitable assessment tool for model for your crop and its processing and marketing and all those things. Those who are doing investments are looking at the aspects like economic and social factors, so that they will not be able to lose their money, not be losing their money, which is being used for the investment, right? And the government policies, something that is really affecting, and countries like us. So our countries do not have healthy policies, right? Healthy government policies. That's why investors are not happy to invest in our countries, because the policies are very, very unfavorable for the investor. So that's why we also have to consider the policies, especially those policies related to agriculture has been changing over past years, so that steady investment cannot be made because of the policy issues in the agriculture sector. And the biotic factors, the factors that are related to biological origin, right? So this is related to the presence or absence of harmful or beneficial organisms, and pest and disease conditions, and also we have to avoid the pest, and if there is any pest and disease conditions, so we need to avoid that. And also so dominant weed aspects, so those things are also people consider what are the basic biotic factors that affect the agriculture if they are doing any environmental doing any investment, right? Environmental factors, the environmental factors also need to be considered, especially the access to water bodies, and also if there is any residential areas around. This comes actually important when you're investing on animal husbandry. If there are residential areas around, there will be waste discharge and smell and all those things going to be an issue. So we have to select an area where there is no residential places around, right? Especially for animal husbandry. and the farming operation should not have negative results on the environment. So especially in developed countries, they have a monitoring system where what is being released to the environment, right? So likewise, we have those kind of things that are considered in under environmental factors. So especially the urban areas, we do not generally do those farming systems and those intensive cultivation things in the urban areas, because that can affect the population in the dense population in the urban areas. So those are the factors that need to be selected. Factors need to be considered in investing on land for agricultural purposes. Actually, the edaphic factors, I forgot to mention, edaphic factors are factors related to soil conditions like structure, fertility, soil texture, porosity, consistency. Those are factors related to the soil conditions in the land. Some land are prone to flooding and erosion. So you already know flooding and erosion is going to cause some health issues. And also erosion will degrade the land, so that will reduce the capacity of land to support the plants. So those both, flooding and erosion cause issues. So therefore, we need to consider them, whether they are prone to leach, and the crops also need to be considered carefully, depending on the soil conditions, right? And land characteristics. So attributes of land. So we will talk about it after the break. So because it's a bit lengthy topic, that we can do it after the tea break. So now it's 10:50. Yes. Before moving on, are there any questions from this section that we have covered?
Madam?
Yes.
Madam, යලමහා කන්න දෙකක් කියලා තියෙනවනේ. ඒ දෙකේ තියෙන ඊසාන දිග මෝසමයි මිදිත දිග මෝසමයි ඇරෙන්න අතරමැදි තියෙන අර අන්තර් මෝසම් කාල සීමාවත් මේ crop cultivation එකට බලපානවද?
ඔව් ඉතින් අතරමැදි දැන් සමහර පළාත්වල ඒ අතරමැදි කියන්නේ අන්තර්මෝසම් වර්ෂාවෙනුත් සමහර භෝග වගා කරනවා. දැන් ප්‍රධාන භෝගයට අමතරව එහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ඒකත් බලපානවා අපි සිලෙක්ට් කරන ක්‍රොප්ස් වලට. ඒ රේන්ෆෝල් පැටර්න් එක දැන් ටිකක් වෙනස් වෙමින් යනවා මේ ක්ලයිමේට් චේන්ජ් එකත් එක්ක. නමුත් ඒකත් බලපානවා. මොකද ඒකට හේතුව තමයි ඒ එන වර්ෂාවෙනුත් අපි විශේෂයෙන්ම දැන් ඉරිගේෂන් කරනවා නම්, ඒ කියන්නේ වාරි කෘෂි කර්මාන්තය කරනවා නම්, වතුර අපි සපයලා කරනවා නම් ඒ කාල සීමාව තුළ අපිට එකතු වෙන වතුර, ඊට පස්සේ ඒ ප්‍රමාණය, ඒවා ඊට පස්සේ බොඩිස්, ඒ කියන්නේ ජලාශය වලට එකතු වෙන වතුර, ඒවත් බලපානවනේ. ඒකට ඒ නිසා මේ අන්තර්මෝසමෙන් එන මේ කාලගුණික තත්ත්වයක් බලපානවා. ඒක එතකොට ඒකයි අනිත් එක තමයි අපි භෝගයක් සිලෙක්ට් කරනවා නම් ඒ අන්තර්මෝසම් කාලය තුල ලැබෙන වර්ෂාවත් අනිවාර්යෙන් බලපානවා. ඒ අතරමැදි අර අපි සීසන් දෙකක් අතර කරන භෝගයට කොච්චර ඒක අපි ඉරිගේෂන් නැතුව කරන්න පුළුවන්ද, ඊට පස්සේ ඒ වගේ දේවල් වලටත් ඒක බලපානවා. ඉන්ටර්මොන්සුනල් රේන්ස්.
Okay, thank you, madam.
So, Ramana, question තියෙනවද? So are there any questions? So we are going to have the tea break now. So we will start. So in the meantime, if you have questions, you can place it in the chat. We will have tea break of half an hour, and we will start at 11:30, and then we will continue. So we without taking lunch break in between. So we will continue and stop, right? So that you can save your afternoon for something else, right? Late afternoon. So we will start at 11:30, right? Please mute your microphones, otherwise it will be really disturbing. So I keep on muting you all. The other option is mute you all without allowing you to mute.
Hello. Oh, no, mute
Unfortunately, I had to mute you all without allowing you to unmute. That means you will not be able to speak, right? So if someone wants to have a question, please input that in the chat, and then I will give you a time for you all to unmute your microphones and speak if you want, because it's keep on disturbing. So that's not possible to continue with allowing you to mute, right? Unmute. Because in my end, I have two options. One is mute you all with allowing you to unmute whenever you want. The other option is mute you all without allowing you to unmute, right? So I had to choose the second option because every time I had to stop and go and mute you all. So that's not possible to do because it's really disturbing. So I have unmute you all. Now you should not be able to unmute, but I'll give you a chance you to ask questions at the end, right? In the meantime, chat option is available. So if you have any questions, so please do so, right? Type it in and send as a direct message if you want. And if you want everyone else to see it, so you can use that option as well. Yes, so we have been discussing about land characteristics. Land characteristic is an attribute of a land that can be measured or estimated. So it includes the slope or the angle, right? When it comes to slope, you already know what is the slope. I will show you an image as well. So it is the angle of the land. And also rainfall. So we have discussed in detail about climatic factors. Yes, rainfall that can be measured, and also the slope is also possible to measure. And soil texture is the particle size distribution in soil when it comes to land. So you have various particles on the ground. So the distribution of those particles and available water capacity, that means what is the level of moisture that the land has and also able to hold. Biomass and the vegetation. So the vegetation is also considered to be a land characteristic. And land mapping units. So when you have a map prepared for your land, so those mapping units are also considered to be land characteristics. And as determined by resource surveys, normally described in terms of land characteristics. Surveys are generally describe the land based on the characteristics, right? So that is what we call land characteristics. We will get them one by one and see how it is, how they can be described. Okay. Land quality is productivity from crops, especially those land qualities that are related to the productivity are listed here, especially in terms of their effect on the crop yield, moisture availability, right? So these previously mentioned land characteristics, most of them we have actually discussed. Slope, rainfall, and texture is something that we talk in future when it comes to soil. And available water capacity is also related to the amount of moisture that can hold by the soil. And the biomass and vegetation, we have discussed that depending on the land use type, the value of the land change, right? And the mapping unit is the small unit that you can consider as the considered as the building block of whole map. So therefore, all these characteristics are described to a single unit for the map, and then once it is aggregated, the whole map will be developed, right? So therefore, each and every section is is used for describing these land characteristics. When it comes to the qualities that is related to the productivity, so we have listed here the number of soil quality related aspects. Land quality related aspects that is that is affecting the crop yield, right? Moisture availability is one, nutrient availability, and oxygen availability, especially for the root system, and adequacy of foothold for root. That means providing enough space for roots, and the conditions for germination. So those are affecting the, like conditions in the sense it might be due to acidic conditions, alkaline, acidic, and those things, right? Workability of land, whether the land is easy to prepare or land preparation can be done very easily or not, and the salinity or alkalinity, whether the soil has high amount of salt or high amount of low amount of H plus ions. So alkalinity is when there is low amount of H plus ions, the pH will increase. So that is alkalinity. And salinity is the amount of salt base, amount of salt, dissolved salt in the land, right? Soil. So that is salinity and alkalinity. These properties are directly affecting the yield or the outcome from the agricultural land. And there are other things that you need to consider, especially when it comes to the cultivation under particular land. So we need to consider the resistance to soil erosion, whether the land is resistant to erosion. Otherwise, we have to do erosion control measures, right? If it is susceptible for erosion, we have to do a erosion control measure. Pest and disease related to the area or the land that need to be considered. If there is an considerable investment, so we need to consider about the pest and disease conditions. Certain pests and diseases are prevailing in particular areas. So in that case, we need to be very careful of the selection of crops. And flooding hazards. Next one is flooding hazards. That means whether the land, the location of the land is prone to undergo floods. So that is also need to be considered. In that case, you need to look at the frequency and the frequency of flooding and the period of inundation. So how long it's being underwater and those things. The other one is the temperature regime. So what is the level of temperature in the area that is belong to area that this land is belongs to, and then carefully look at how the temperature pattern has been changing over the past years, and if there is like an issue globally, so that when there is an issue, especially the temperature problem has causing a huge issue in the scenario of climate change, especially the island like us, we have impact on rising temperatures globally, because we are an island. If the sea level increases, island like us will have some impact. However, here what we consider in the temperature regime means, especially in the areas like dry zone and wet zone, we have a difference in the temperatures of those climatic regions. So then especially the certain crops, the pollen viability, the male flowers, pollen that is not going to be viable in high temperatures, right? So therefore we need to be very careful about the temperature readings. If temperature goes beyond certain level, certain activities will be affected, right? And climatic hazards. So we have already discussed about what are the climatic hazards and what we can do for it, right? And air humidity as affecting plant growth. Drying period for ripening. Yes, air humidity is RH. So you can understand that in the past, sometimes we get very, very hot conditions, especially when the humidity increases and the temperature increases. So therefore, humidity is something that that you need to consider in especially in dry periods. So how difficult it is for plants to survive under high temperatures is depending on the humidity, right? And also next one is the drying period, especially for ripening crops. We need to have a dry period, especially if you think about paddy cultivation during harvesting. So we definitely need a dry spell, right? So that dry condition is not there, especially in the wet zone. You get you will have frequent rainfall, especially in the dry zone. We have in the wet zone we have frequent wet rain spells, but in dry zone we expect a period, certain period to be very dry. That is the time that we generally do harvesting of rice. But this year and very recent years, if you have observed, we don't get that dry spell, right? The rainfall pattern has been changing, and then there are certain level of rainfall observed even in the dry spell. During the dry spell, we will get flash floods. Sometimes we get flash floods, and sometimes we get sudden rainfall. So those things are going to affect the crop management, because harvesting need dry conditions most of the time, right? So those are things that we have to consider. Yeah, there is a question, so just let me see what is the question. Share all these slides to LMS. Yes. Okay, the question is about whether these slides are shared in LMS. Yes, I will upload them in LMS so that you can refer them. And if you have some notes, you can add them to your study material. Okay, now we have come to the available water. So that is something that I wanted to talk to you. Water is, agriculture has often been throughout the world blamed for extracting more water for agriculture. Out of freshwater extraction, 70% of freshwater is extracted for agricultural purpose, right? So that means, so that means we need more water for agriculture. However, it doesn't mean that the other industries are not important. They are also important. Other two sectors like domestic and the industry, those two sectors are also important, and they are also extraction of water is happening. But agriculture is considered to be the largest consumer of fresh water, right? So you can see 70% of water is extracted for agriculture. So here actually what we want to do is where this water is coming from. Sometimes this water is from groundwater. I think you all know what is agro-well. Agro-well is a well that is generally larger compared to the drinking water wells and used for irrigation purpose of crops. So that is for irrigation of crops. So sometimes we use the groundwater using agro wells and or sometimes tube wells. Those things are used to extract water. So when we talk about extracting water, so how efficient is our system? So that is important. If we still do a surface irrigation system, sending water along the canals and trenches, canals and those things, so then the efficiency is extremely low. So therefore, we have to consider the efficient delivery of water for all our agricultural system. Where is available water coming from? Natural water stream, irrigation water, irrigation system, and also agro wells. Agro wells are large wells that are excavated to supply of water for the plants during dry season. And tube wells are generally wells that are prepared for getting water from deeper layers, right? So tube wells are also a source of water, fresh water. Okay, so those who have not seen slopey land, these are examples for slopey land. So when it comes to slopey land, you can see that erosion hazard is very high. Common erosion කියන එක වෙන්නේ. So erosion is generally happens when the water flows through along the slope. Slope එක දිගේ වතුර ගලාගෙන එද්දි තමයි මේ erosion කියන සංසිද්ධිය වෙන්නේ. erosion වෙන එක වළක්වන්න අපි කරන්නේ contour planting කරනවා, contour drainage දානවා. Contour means in the same elevation from the ground level. So we have these are contour plant, right? Contour planting system. So there are because of this because of this slopy nature of the land, right? So we don't have to give up the land because it is slopy, and plants will not be able to absorb water or nutrients because of the slope. It goes down, right? So this kind of things that you can tell by looking at this picture. But if we can manage, like if we properly manage, we can minimize this erosion effect due to slope, right? And so there is a special thing called sloping agricultural land technique, SALT. So that is for managing the slopy lands without doing any harm to the system, right? So we'll be talking about that, and just give me a minute. Yes, I use my writing pad so that I can explain it very clearly. So this one, you can see that this land is, you have seen many of this kind of land in upcountry in Sri Lanka. So here, actually, if you think about this land, so the slope this side, you can see like this. So anything that is water coming fall into upper land areas, so will move along this line, so along this direction, right? So what happens is, like, when you have a high amount of water moving like this, it will not only carry water but also carry soil particles from these area, right? These soil particles will move with water and then get deposited somewhere around here, right? So when in the downslope, right? So this soil particles, not only these are just particles, these carry nutrients, right? Nutrients. So these nutrients may coming from fertilizer that we applied, In addition, there can be natural nutrients coming from natural system like organic matter. So all these nutrients will will washed away and go to the downstream, right? So this process is keep on happening. So what happens is like if we have a contour planting system, right? Contour planting system, planting is done. If the slope is in this direction, planting is done the other direction, right? So then what happens is like this. Think about a situation where we do planting in this direction. So then the water will carry all the particles down. But when we have planting in this direction, so we can stop water. We can block the water. Let's suppose water moving like this. Because of this line of plants, this will stop. And then gradually the amount will reduce. And then finally, so there will be lesser amount of water moving downwards. And also there might be drains to collect this water, right? Drains to collect this water, so that once it is collected, so that water will provide the soil moisture for this to survive even in the dry period, right? So this is our tea lands. You can see that tea lands are in very slopy lands. Still they are doing well because they have practices, soil conservation practices. So in managing these kind of lands, if it is not tea land, so we can have various methods to reduce this erosion. So that can be either by, this is a model that has been given to reduce the erosion. Permanent crop, you have a permanent crop here, like in this case, it is banana. And if you go further, so along this permanent crops, there are some cash crops and those seasonal crops, those things, but all of them are in contour directions. You can see that along the contours. So there will be no issue of heavy erosion due to precautions taken, right? And so in this one, based on the area, so you can have various different crops. Various different crops. Like you can see that the permanent crop, citrus, and those kind of perennial crops. So you then you will reduce the disturbance to the soil. But what about if we do potatoes? Potatoes is a seasonal one, and then you can for you to harvest potatoes, so you need to disturb the soil. Let's suppose you have potato here, so you have to keep on disturbing the soil to get the yield, so that there will be expected enhancement of erosion. Erosion එක පැහැදිලිවම වැඩි වෙනවා. මොකද soil එක disturb වෙනවා නිතරම. දැන් අර අල වගේ ද්‍රව්‍ය අල වගේ crops කරන්න පටන් ගත්තොත් එහෙම මේක disturb කරන එක හොඳ නෑ මේ slopy lands. අල ඊට පස්සේ තව පොළවේ හැදෙන ඕනම වර්ගයක් මේ විදිහට කරොත් එහෙම there can be issues, right? So that's okay. So this is something, if your land is very slopy, you can manage them properly like that. Okay, yeah. So we have been talking about how we can characterize land to identify various purposes, for identify the use of for the use of various purposes. And one thing I want to highlight from the previous things that we discussed is land suitability and land capability. There was a question how we can differentiate these two. So that's why I added this one. Capability is viewed by some as especially by looking at the inherent properties. Inherent means that's there from their parents as well. That means in the past, that is gradually built up. So inherent capacity of land to perform at a given level or given period for general use and suitability as a statement of adaptability of a given land area, right? So that means you look at the inherent properties, inherent qualities of land, whether it can be supported. But when it comes to the suitability, and the other, sometimes the capability and suitability are used in the similar meaning, right? The classification primarily related to the degradation hazard, while regarding the term suitability and capability is interchangeably used. So suitability is generally for right specific purpose, right? For example, the land is capable for agriculture and suitable for coconut, right? So that means the capability is overall concept. So it is more narrowed down into suitability when you consider about the specific purpose, right? So this is an example how suitability classification is used for other categorization of needs, right? So you can see the structure of the suitability classification. The very first one is land suitability orders, and order there can be classes, right? Subclasses and units. So those are the hierarchy that we going to consider, right? Orders are generally reflecting the kinds of suitability, and land suitability classes reflecting the degree of suitability within the order, right? That means suitability එක grade කරනවා මේ අර දැන් order එක අපි හිතමුකෝ land suitability order එකක් තියෙනවා කියලා. ඒ order එකේ අපි land එක suitable කියලා ගන්නවා. ඊට පස්සේ ඒක ඇතුලේ කොච්චර suitable ද? highly ද moderately ද ඒ විදිහට classes වලට බෙදනවා. දැන් suitable කියලා කිව්වට හොඳටම suitable එකයි අඩුම suitable එකයි අතර වෙනසක් තියෙනවානේ. ඒක identify කරනවා මේ land suitability classes. During the classes, classification of classes, you classify the land into various different suitability classes. And then you similarly you can have subclasses, suitability subclasses, and suitability unit. Unit is reflecting the minor differences in required management within the subclass, right? So therefore, those suitability classes can further divide into various categories. When we talk about land suitability orders, orders there are two land suitability orders. One is suitable, the other one is not suitable. When you talk about the orders, land suitability orders, so you can have two. One is suitable, the other one is not suitable. Land suitability orders indicate whether the land is assessed as a suitable or not suitable for use under consideration. And there are two orders in maps, suitable and not suitable. Even suitable is far broader and later on divided into small section. Land may be classed not suitable for a given use for number of reasons. If a land is classified as not suitable, so there can be a reason for it. Generally, not suitable is given for if the land is like, you have a huge rocky, steepy land. So then it is not capable for supporting plant growth. And especially once you select the land, sometimes those not suitable can also we can make it suitable, right? So hold on, if you have, I think it is not available here. Sometimes we consider in the big order, it is considered as not suitable. But people, for example, if the soil, if the land has a rocky material, which because of that reason, soil is not deep enough. ගැන ගැඹුරු අඩුයි. එතකොට කෙනෙක් හිතන්න පුළුවන් අපිට පාස් ගෙනල්ලා දාලා මේක හදන්න පුළුවන්. So it's possible, but there are some issues where are you bringing the soil from. Likewise, so you have some issues, but still you can make it, even not suitable one can make suitable by doing those things, right? Land suitability classes reflect the degree of suitability, right? I will give you an example from coconut. So they have suitability classes identified throughout the country. So the classes are numbered consecutively, starting from, by Arabic numbers in the sequence of decreasing degree of suitability within the order. For example, only two suitability classes, S1 and S2. Number of classes recognized should be kept minimum so that the confusion will be less. If 3 classes are recognized within the order of suitable, as can often be recommended, the following names identified may be in the definition. So as per the requirement. So I will show you this is the example. Class 1 is highly suitable. So this can be for any crop, right? You can have, this is done for various different crops, but this could be done for most of the crops. Especially this is done for perennial crops, because short-term crops, we don't need much, like, you don't have a huge, deep root in depth. And so there can be a possibility of developing land to do a cash crop. For example, you can have raised beds, sunken beds. So you can do some changes. But for the perennials, you can't do it. Raised beds can ogulu danna mම හිතන්නේ agriculture කරපුවා නම් දන්නා ඇති. So I'll just explain it. But so for example, let me do it in red. So if your land is like this, so you have like, if there are water retaining, also you can have raised beds. Raised beds are like this. You can have to prepare beds like this. So if your plant is a small plant, so you will have only roots going around here, so that you can accommodate it by changing the land, right? So this is raised beds, and the sunken beds are like, you can have beds like this. So you can plant it if the plant need water to be around here. So you can have plants like this, right? So you can change the land form for the short-term crops. Chili, onion, maybe tomato, kind of things. You can you can change the land. But in case of coconut-like plants, right? Rubber, coconut. So those plants, right? Long-term crops. For the long-term crops, your tree will be like this, and the plants' roots will be moving further down. So in that case, if you have a rock somewhere around here, right? So if the rock is blocking the land, not allowing, sometimes even rocks can, underneath rocks can go to the surface. Rocks sometimes. So we will see this kind of disturbance. So then the plant will not be able to grow. So especially for the perennials, maybe tea, rubber, and coconut, those type of crops, we need to consider the suitability of land. Because if you invest on this and if it does not grow, so then it is going to be a huge waste of money, right? So therefore, we need to know what is the suitability. So there are list of suitable classes. I have listed here. That is general. This is the typical one. Generally used classification. Class 1, highly suitable. Class 2, moderately suitable. Class 3, marginally suitable. Highly suitable means there is no limitation. So you can grow crop, that particular crop without any disturbance. But when it comes to class 2, you can see the limitation. So here, as mentioned here, so it is limited to moderately severe or for certain suitable applications, but there are certain situations where like you can't change it. So you have limitations. For example, water retention is poor. Then not as good as this, but you can't say it is not suitable. So then it comes moderately and marginally. There can be a limitation, there can be a problem, but still you can manage. So that kind of classification is there for highly, moderately, and marginally suitable. So as previously mentioned, starting from this number 1, 2, 3, 1 being the most suitable. We can't change it. Like we can't go other way around, like 5 for the most suitable one. So you can't have it. So what we do is generally S1 is suitability class 1, highly suitable. Suitability class 2 is moderate, and suitability class 3 is marginal. Likewise, you can have different classes. Okay, so that is suitable. If it is not suitable, right? If it is not suitable, we categorize it. We symbolize it using N, capital N. N is not suitable, and we can classify 2 classes even it is not suitable. So it is N1 and N2. N1 is currently not suitable. That means as it is, you can't use it, right? As it is, you can't use it. But maybe you can change it, or you can do some changes to make it suitable, right? You can correct certain problems. When the land is having limitations, which may be surmountable into in time, but which cannot be corrected with existing knowledge. So you can't do it with current situation, but there is a possibility that you can alter it. The best example is like if the land is not having enough depth, ගැඹුරක් නැත්තම් පස්සේ this is classified under N1, not suitable. Whereas someone can argue that we can cultivate it by bringing soil, filling the soil in the land. Land එකට වෙන කොහෙන් හරි soil ගෙනලා පුරවලා හදන්න පුළුවන් කියලා. Yes, then it can be classified as N1, but the cost for bringing soil and filling it up, if that cost is not practical, so then so it is not possible to do, right? So it can be classified as N1 because you can change the soil and make it suitable. But when it comes to N2 classification, permanently not suitable, that means pretty much it is, for example, it is a rock that even though the land consists of certain cultivable parameters, වවන්න පුළුවන් විදියට තියෙන land එක වැඩි area එකක් තියෙනවා නම් rocks. ඒ කියන්නේ මතු පිටටම මේ ගල ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා නම් so it is permanently not suitable, right? So in that situation you can't even bring soil and do the cultivation, so it is not practical. So then it comes under N2 category. For coconut, they have the classification. There are 5 classes. Generally, we have most of the crops 3 classes, but for coconut, there are 5 suitability classes: S1, S2, S3, S4, and S5. So that means all these 5 classes are considered to be suitable, and there are N1 and N2 which is not suitable, right? Yes, those are the use of land suitability classes. Then if someone want to invest money, අපි හිතමු කෙනෙක්ට land එකක් අරගෙන cultivate කරන්න ඕනේ. So then you can ask the relevant authority to, for example, coconut, you can ask Coconut Research Institute what is their recommendation, whether this is comes under S1, S2, S3 or S4, right? Or N1 or N2. They will prepare a map for you saying that this part of the land is suitable, but this part of the land is not suitable. So that can be done, right? So that is the use of land suitability classification system for people to make decision on investing, whether this is useful or not, right? So actually, when it comes to these kind of things, so we can use latest technology, use satellites, satellite images, and we can use some of these resources are actually freely available. For example, if you go to Google Maps, so you can download the satellite images. You can have the satellite images to see how this land has been in the past and how it is now, and what kind of how thick the vegetation is. So that kind of things can be done with free resources. But when it comes to the advanced applications, we need high level of technology like sensors, images of satellite images, and other use of GPS and GIS technology and those things, right? So when you come to the degree level, so after finishing diploma, if you decided to do agriculture degree, so you will learn more about what are the other important aspects that you can use to use in modern agriculture to do your practical work related to agriculture, right? So those are the things that we actually want to talk today. And there is another topic that is a bit lengthy. Yes, this is GIS GPS technologies. You can see that these GPS can be used to estimate the yield and identify the so these kind of machines can be used to identify the characteristics of land, and you can get images to see how the level of moisture, what is the amount of carbon in soil, what is the level of salt conditions, and those things can be understood by using sensor technology. So we have kind of like in our university also we have a unit doing these things, and we prepare maps and identify areas which are suitable and not suitable, and what kind of activities that we can do to improve the applications of these technologies for the agriculture, right? So with that, we have come to the end of that section. Next one is about soil. So I can start the soil section as well. Otherwise, we can continue with next week, right? Are there any questions that we you all want to ask? Just let me unmute. So it's about. Okay, now you all can unmute yourself and talk. Are there any questions or so we can do a few topics in the other section as well, if you wish. Are there any questions? Or let me open the chat and see whether someone has sent any questions through chat. Okay, I don't see anything in the chat. Chat option again, I don't see any questions. Are there any questions? Okay, regarding the previous question that was about the quiz, actually we will have practice quiz. I will prepare a practice quiz by Wednesday from the section that we have already covered, and your quiz will be on in the similar way, like not the same questions, but it will be on the same platform and same way. You will have full quiz for the assessment on following Wednesday after next week, not this Wednesday, after your second lecture. So the immediate next Wednesday, you will have quiz open for about 2 hours, but the question will take only about half an hour or 45 minutes, right? Will open for 2 hours, so that it will be on 8:30 to 10:30, right? 8:30 to 10:30, the quiz will be open, and the practice quiz will also be open in the evening. So it is not going to close. So you can practice it, right? So there might be some questions, MCQs and short answer questions, and depending on the way that we can prepare it on LMS. So there will be some questions from yes, those two sections. The practice quiz will be available for you to practice many times. But when it comes to exam 1, you can attempt only once, right? You have to go to a place where you have steady internet connection, because if you fail while doing the test, your attempt will be counted and you will not be able to log again for the quiz. quiz එකට දෙසරයක් log වෙන්න දෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒ නිසා ඔයගොල්ලෝ steady internet connection එකක් තියෙන තැනක ඉඳලා open කරන්න. That is the answer for the question regarding the quiz. Anything else? Any questions? Okay, so hopefully, if there are no more questions, so we will continue the rest of the soil section. I will give you the summary of, before stopping today, I'll give you the summary of what we have discussed today. And then we will have the soil section next day. For the land section, we have already covered. So what is land, and then what is agriculture? Separately, we discussed those two. And then we connected agriculture and land, right? So what are the land characteristics? What is agriculture? And then we consider the importance of land for agriculture, right? And then finally, we discussed about various different qualities of land, how land can be classified into whether it is suitable for agriculture or not, suitable for particular crop or not. So how it is done. So that was discussed in detail, how the selection is done. And then we considered some definitions: land use, land capability, land suitability assessment, and those things, right? All these terms need to be known by the agriculture diploma holders. You should know those things. So that is, and then finally we discussed about what kind of things that we can do to reduce the impact of climate change. So what are the options? And then we talk about certain characters of land, like slope, and environment, especially in terms of climate, and then other weather patterns like temperature and those things. We consider those as well, right? Finally, we discussed about land suitability classification examples, right? Whether it is suitable or not suitable. Suitable, if it is suitable, what degree? Highly, moderately, marginally, likewise, right? So those are the things that we discussed today. And so we will continue the soil section next week. You can use the same link I have sent you. I have forwarded, I think your course coordinator has sent it to you, the same link for next Saturday, right? So I will not be providing any other link. So you can use the same link for logging in for the next Saturday as well, right? So if there are no questions, we will stop from here and then continue next week regarding soil section, right? Thank you very much for attending today, and hope you have understood the concept that I wanted to highlight you, and do the practice on the practice piece on Wednesday, so that you can have a familiarization to the quiz on the final assessment, right? And thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Excuse me, ma'am. How can Google search about Gannoru?
So Department of, yeah, if you Google on Department of Agriculture, so Information Center, I think it's Information Center. So someone, I think there should be someone in Agriculture Department here. So I will provide the link to the LMS. Okay, I will do a search.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, I will do a search and upload link to upload the link to the LMS, right? So if you have any more questions, just type it in the chat and then I will do something, and otherwise not. I will capture that in the next week. Next class will be starting the same time, 9 o'clock next Saturday. So those are the questions coming through the chat. Next Saturday, we will start on the same time, 9 o'clock. Yes, slides will be uploaded to LMS.